My name is Gil Riviere. I am the representative for the North Shore District. And so today here we are in Whitmore. It's a beautiful day. Dan Ward is a real inspirational story. And we're going to spend a little time talking with him about his business and how it goes. So welcome to the show, Dan.
Thank you for having me. Good, good. It's hot out here, but it's beautiful.
It's a hot day in Whitmore. How about that? Better than rain.
Beautiful.
So I wanted to start by maybe you could introduce yourself and give us a little bit of history of you know, how did we get to this place here today? How did it all start?
I'm Dan Ward, founder of Hawaiian Chariots, and about 10 years ago I received a call and someone said this is something that you would be interested in. It turned out to be a rudimentary version of what I have created here. And it just started me improving it and developing it, and after a couple of years I realized that there was nothing like this being offered to the wheelchair community, so I had this idea to manufacture it.
So you're obviously in a wheelchair now, and mobility is a great issue, a great challenge for people to get around.
Yeah, you know, not very many people are aware of this, but we represent 0.5% of the population, and because we're a small segment, not too much is offered to us for us to be able to get around street legal transportation. What is available is either costly or very inconvenient. To give you a brief illustration is if you have hand controls equipped into a regular sedan, the person in the wheelchair has to pull up, open the door. He has to get himself into the vehicle, which is very difficult. And then after he's in there, after 5 minutes or so, he has to bring the wheelchair in. So by the time a person actually gets going, he's disheveled, he's exhausted. And for me personally, I did it for 18 years, but it got to the point where I hardly went anywhere because the work versus reward ratio that you figure out in your head, it just prevented me from going anywhere unless it was absolutely important.
So those things that most of us take for granted, like, oh, I'll just run down to the store and get a bottle of milk.
Yeah.
That's something that you got to plan for, and it becomes a real chore.
And you figure if you're going to do that, how many times a day do you think you'll do that to go, what, 5, 6 stops in a day? That'll never happen.
No, yeah, so most people that have the mobility with the hand controls, they still have the traditional seat in the car. Is that correct? Or do, how many, I guess, what kind of percentage of people retrofit the car or a van that you can roll into?
At last count, there's about 1.5 million wheelchair users in the country, and there's about 700,000 adapted vans in use today.
Okay.
So you figure half of those people are using a regular sedan, and they're struggling, and there's nothing out there. So the Hawaiian Chariot enables you to roll up into the vehicle and use entirely with hand controls, and then you start it up and you drive away. That's it.
Perfect.
That's how simple it is.
And we've got some demonstrations, some models here.
Yeah, that's what we have back here.
Just different colors, different styles, and basically it's a single person vehicle with possibly a passenger add-on.
All the stock versions have a piggyback seat on the back, so you can bring your friend, your wife, your nurse, whatever.
Groceries.
Yeah, groceries. And one of my units is designed after the '29 Ford pickup truck, so you can bring your service dog or throw a bunch of gear back there. And then another one is this orange one here is the inspiration is the '34 Ford Deuce Coupe, so it's kind of a frivolous old school style. And this one that we have right here behind me is a rickshaw. And my idea for this rickshaw is for wheelchair-bound individuals to make a living, and I can see them shuttling tourists in Waikiki and on the North Shore, so they can have a livelihood.
That's excellent. How did you get this? I saw a video of you tooling around on, I guess, your first prototype. How'd you get there? Where'd it come from?
Where did it come from? I used to ride Harley Davidsons before I was in my accident at the age of 30. And after my accident, I experimented and I adapted a go-kart a dune buggy, a jet ski, and a motorhome, and I was doing a chopper motorcycle. I adapted all of those so that I could enjoy those things, and so it was always a big issue to create the best, most convenient mobility for a person in a wheelchair.
You were injured in 1982, you
Correct.
mentioned. You were in an accident. You were actually, I believe, on a rescue mission trying to help somebody who was injured.
Correct.
And a cliff got in the way. So, do you care to share a little bit about that, or is that?
Yeah, absolutely. In 1982, I was 30 years old. I was having lunch with my brother, who was a fireman at the Hanalei station, and a call came in that someone was drowning at Lumahai Beach, and they were shorthanded that day. And so, because I was there, I did what anybody would have done, was to assist them, at least primarily just to locate the emergency scene. So I fell at the third lookout, and that third lookout was a really bad spot because 3 people had fallen prior to my accident in the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. So it was a bad spot that after my accident, then they put a guardrail and a sign there. But it was so bad that tourists had stopped there. A 12-year-old boy had gotten out of the car, and his father saw him just slide out. And he walked over the other side to see what happened to his son, and he fell right behind the son. So that's how bad the spot was.
Wow.
And so I survived it.
You survived it, and now here we are with the Hawaiian Chariots. So
Yeah.
now you've got a concept of mobility, right? The idea is, how can I easily get into something? And you're a motorcycle rider, so these have handlebars, and they're fun to ride.
Right.
They look really fun. How did you get there? I mean, you don't just start building these things. You've got to have some investors, or you got to have a plan. You got to have design.
Yeah, that's an interesting story. Like I said, 10 years ago, I acquired mine quite through accident, and in the process of field testing my own vehicle, I improved it, and to the point where I thought, I could do this. So I set out to manufacture my own version, and it was difficult without any funding. Fortunately, about 3.5 years ago, I wrote to former Governor Linda Lingle, and I presented her with my entire business plan, and I was persistent, and she helped me get not only funding through Department of Vocational Rehab, and Joe Cordova was a great guy. I appreciate it, Joe. He'll always be my hero. I managed to get to Shanghai and work with professional engineers in a factory that I still have a active relationship with right now. So we're building a new design. But back to your question, it was a daunting and challenging task to get the funding and to get a vehicle that was technically sound, that that you can feel safe on and be confident that others will be safe on. So I'm proud to announce that this first Chariot is it.
That's outstanding. So you went to the governor with the plan. She says, I'll support that, and she helped put you in touch with some people.
Yeah.
And then you went to Shanghai and
right.
Designed it there, or?
It wasn't that easy, because
it wasn't that easy.
I was in touch with, you talk to everybody. You talk about it, plan and talk and plan. And I was talking to the head of Hawaii Strategic Development Corp. At the time was John Chalk. And he was helping me actually find angel investors. And at one point he said, hey, try the doctors. So I'd sent 40 business plans out to 40 cardiologists in Hawaii. Nobody responded.
No response. Yeah,
Later on, he said, hey, try the car dealership. So I sent out 19 business plans, and Eric Clark from Servco was really nice. Mr. King from King Nissan, they were nice guys. Eric Clark had me in his office. He helped me critique my business plan, and ultimately he served as a mentor that vouched for my business plan, which enabled me to get a sizable grant from the state of Hawaii. And then I went to China, and once I got to my factory in Shanghai, these people just took care of me and just enabled me to get a professional design manufactured.
Well, that's tremendous. So now you've got a handful of models here, so variations, customizable colors, all of that, and you're looking for a dealership, a distribution network is what you're working on.
That's where
now.
we're at now. We actually did test market studies and market surveys, and I had 40 dealerships throughout the country from the National Mobility Equipment Dealers Association. 40 of them had represented that they could sell 12 or more of these annually and had offered to be dealers for me. Unfortunately, we're still working on the pilot program of sending out 100 units, but this is a situation, this is a product that the end user and the industry, the people that run the medical supply houses, they're the ones that are going to prove the product out. Because the need is there, but only the end users, all of us, know that the need exists.
The need is there, and not to get too much into pricing details or anything, but the investment in owning one of these is quite a bit less than retrofitting a car or buying a car and doing all that, right? Yeah. So for that mobility, I think we're onto something here.
For an adapted van, it's running, you know, I can say this, it's about $60,000, and 1/4 of that is what my Hawaiian Chariots
for that
cost.
personal mobility.
And let me say that my vision is that eventually they'll be so widely accepted that third-party payers such as Medicaid, Veterans Administration, DVR, they'll be helping to defray the costs for these things.
Outstanding. Now let's talk. You have another idea, which what's fun in talking with you is it's clear that your heart is there for people who need mobility, and your heart is there in a way that's really growing, and I think it's showing for everybody that comes across you. You have a plan now to give away one of these, or possibly more, to disabled military veterans. You want to talk about that?
Absolutely. My idea was to tie the first chariot out of each shipment, and so from this first shipment I made the decision that I was going to give one chariot away to a disabled vet whose combat injuries had left him in a wheelchair in the last 10 years. So I found one guy, I'm not going to mention his name right now, but he's going to be so happy. And last week I did a presentation at the yacht club with Bill Maloney, and I had one of the people ask me that he wanted to support my program for the Wounded Warriors in Wheelchairs Project, and he's donated 3 of them. So we're going to give 4 away next month. Yeah,
that's fine. So we're almost coming up to our time. So how do people get in touch with you? Where's the website, the phone number? How can they reach Dan Ward and Hawaiian Chariots?
www.wheelchairmotorbikes.com. That's plural, wheelchairmotorbikes.com. And they can call me at 808-371-5741. And that's how you can get a hold of me.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. So check out your website. Give you a call. Anybody out there that can help move this project forward or knows somebody who can benefit by it.
I'm accepting names right now for disabled vets. So if you know you have a family member or a friend, then get in touch with me, and we'll try to get them in a chariot.
God bless them too. They've served our country, and,
Absolutely.
and they deserve everything we can give them.
The words of Winston Churchill, it reminds me of that. He said, never in the history of human conflict has so many owed so much to so few. And that's what I believe. The people that came back from theater and are in a wheelchair now, that's them. So
Dan, I want to thank you for allowing me to come talk with you today.
Thank you, Gil.
And for talking about your product, and we'll
leave
it there.
Thank you.
This is Gil Riviere, representative for the North Shore, speaking with the North Shore resident, Dan Ward, here on location in Whitmore. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll talk with you again real soon. Hi, welcome back to Gil Gets It Done. This part of the program, we're going to be speaking with Ron Weidenbach of Hawaii Fish Company. We're on site in the North Shore, and Ron's got a fish hatchery and fish farm out here, and I think you folks will find this pretty interesting. So welcome to the show, Ron. How are you doing today?
Thank you for coming out here and sharing time with us.
Outstanding. So tell us, what is a Hawaii Fish Company, and how did you get into this business? How did you get to this point right now?
Okay. Well, we're an aquaculture farm, freshwater, land-based aquaculture farm. We actually started the farm back in Manoa in the late 70s, 78. 1980, in that time frame. When my wife and I were dating, I was at the East-West Center. She was a grad student at Manoa. And
did you have a fish pond, or so? How did you start a fish farm in Manoa? I mean, that doesn't seem like a big lake district.
My wife Lita had a rental home with several of her girlfriends. It had an old abandoned Japanese garden in behind the house.
Okay.
It was nicely terraced. I cleared it. It was totally overgrown, and put up little kiddie swimming pools and bought aquariums when an aquarium shop went out of business.
And this was meant to be a hobby, or was it meant to be a business when you started?
I had been brought into Hawaii by Dale and R and East-West Center to help get the prawn farming industry off to a scientific start. And since I had been involved with the prawn farmers for several years, I really didn't think it ethical to go into prawn farming and compete with the people that I knew all their weaknesses or strengths. And so I figured, since no one was doing fish at that time, that would be an area we could go into. And I was looking for an opportunity to stay in Hawaii. Prior to that, I'd been working mostly in Southeast Asia, South Asia.
Okay.
And or as a researcher on the mainland. And so I looked at my options and felt starting a fish farm was the best opportunity to stay.
And you did that for reasons you were maybe way ahead of your time, because in the 70s, if you're thinking about fish farming, I think the regular guy out there in the street wasn't thinking about food shortages and ability to get that. So was that on your mind, and that's what you're thinking?
It was. Academically, I trained as a fishery biologist at the University of Michigan. And then in the early 70s, when computers started coming online and calculators that weren't adding machines, the fisheries field went more towards modeling and statistical analysis, and wound up spending all your time indoors rather than out in the field where I love to be. So aquaculture was an opportunity for me to remain in the field working with fish, hands-on. And so that's why I switched to aquaculture, and then that led me to here.
Okay.
And
so Manoa, and then Manoa,
we went to
then
Waimanalo for a while.
Waimanalo.
We used irrigation reservoir at a banana co-op.
Okay.
And did that for half a dozen years. And then we looked island-wide for a place that met the water chemistry requirements that I was looking for, and eventually found out about this place, and in 1988 applied for a lease
for the lease that you have now. What sort of fish are you raising?
Our target now is tilapia. When we first started, we developed the breeding and rearing techniques for Chinese catfish. But now we were the only producer for a half a dozen years, and those were good times. But the market got flooded after a while with so many people producing the same product, and it was
the catfish or the tilapia?
The catfish.
Okay. And
so we decided to move on to a species that we felt eventually would have broader acceptance.
Are you fighting? I have to jump in, I'm sorry. Tilapia. I know some people say, oh my God, that's a gutter fish. I would never eat that. Yet I know that they're serving it in nice restaurants around the island.
It's been a challenge, a marketing challenge. A fish is what it eats. You know, if you could put a paka paka in the alawai, it would taste like the alawai, just like any fish,
oh my goodness,
other fish that's in there. But tilapia is a very versatile, white-fleshed, flaky fish, grown in good conditions with a good diet. It's a really good fish. It's mild, so the chefs like it because it takes on the characteristics of the various seasonings they use.
Okay.
So it's very versatile, and it's a pretty forgiving fish in the restaurant.
I came here earlier, a few months ago, on a tour, the Agricultural Committee was coming out, and you showed off some fish, and I won't say they were this big, but I was impressed. How would you, being an honest scientist, how big are those fish that you're growing, some of these tilapia?
Well, it depends on the market that we're going after. For the Chinatown market, the range is 1 to 2 pounds.
Okay.
For the white tablecloth restaurants, like Alan Wong's, they want a larger fillet product. And so
How
then
big?
it becomes maybe 18 inches.
Wow.
So 3 to 5 pounds, 3 to 6 pounds.
Pretty nice sized fish.
Yeah.
And pretty tasty, and it is obviously getting to be well renowned.
Right. Being able to have Alan and his crew come out here and see where we grow the fish, learn about the fish, and be willing to add it to their menu has been a turning point for tilapia farming, I think, on the island. And now when the president and first lady are in town, they go to Alan's and she orders tilapia.
Oh, that's fantastic. Locally grown
Yeah,
and produced. So
right here.
let's talk about that for a little bit. Is it something like 90% of the fish in Hawaii is imported? Did I understand that statistic right?
The last number I heard was 92%, but it's...
And here we are in an island community, and everybody thinks that, oh man, I'm going to Hawaii and I'm going to eat fish, and most of it's coming in on airplanes.
Yeah, it's just that the Hawaii fishery is well managed, but it's just being in the middle of the Pacific, there's just a limited amount of nutrients to support the food chain. We don't have a Mississippi River or an Amazon River putting nutrients to support that food chain, to support a large fishery.
So you're using science to produce fish in a good, clean, wholesome way,
right,
that's safe to eat, and locally
and
produced.
supplements the local fishery. We see both of us in the same business of growing seafood, and so we try to work closely with the fishing community.
You're growing only tilapia, or are there other species, or I guess where do you go forward? Is it going to continue with the same business?
Tilapia is all that we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
The Chinese catfish we may get back into up ahead.
Okay.
Once we get electricity to the site where we can have a higher oxygen level in the pond continuously, then we'll be able to maybe grow some species that are a little less forgiving than tilapia.
Okay. So the water, if it could be stimulated more oxygen, you
Right.
have more options for fish.
Right
Okay.
now we need to pick a hardy species, and 350 days out of the year the conditions are perfect, and we have no issues. But if we have an extended week of Kona weather where it's the drizzle, rain, no sun, no wind, then the oxygen will start to drop.
Okay.
And we need a fish that's hardy enough to survive that week until conditions improve.
You mentioned you got a lease in the late 80s, so 20 years now
Right.
you've been here, 20 plus. How's the future looking? You're going to be able to stay here for a while,
It
or
looks good.
put some reinvestment into it and get
And we
those
hope to
pumps?
expand as well.
Okay.
We're trying to work out the details with DLNR right now, but they've been supportive, and looks like we're going forward. The board approved the concept of the long-term lease last summer. We're just working out technical details at this point.
Excellent.
And eventually we would hope to expand to about 100 acres.
100 acres, how
So
much do
we
you
will-
have now? I
Right
mean, I
now,
guess.
well, the pond is 7.5, and we have 18 total. But that includes the surrounding mountains and so forth.
Oh, okay.
So only maybe a third of the property is actually usable. But when you lease a whole parcel. You can't.
Are you looking for other sites then for one day for
No,
expansion?
At this point in my life, this is where I'm going to hang my future.
Yeah.
I have looked at other sites. At one point, we were tracking more than 24 sites around the island, but this is at the top of the list. And when this worked out, then this is pretty much where we focused.
Outstanding. And you have several employees, and maybe you have some other interns or volunteers that help with the work, or is it just you out there swimming with the fish?
Right now, it's my wife and I are the core of the company.
Mm-hmm.
My wife Lita runs the hatchery, and then I run the pond.
Mm-hmm.
We have had a series of part-time or short-term, full-time people over the years. We had a full-time person this past year that right now he went back to help his mom do some repairs on her house. We hope he'll be back in about a month.
Yeah.
We are looking at an intern from the high school coming down to start
good.
in a
From
couple weeks.
Waialua High
From
School.
Waialua High.
Okay.
And so we're looking forward to that. And certainly as the company grows, we'll be hiring, but
Yeah.
it's
But
moving step by step.
you've made a successful business. You're selling as much fish as you can grow right now, and business is looking good. Sounds like it's great.
An exciting time.
Excellent.
And you know, I would like to hope that maybe in the future one or more of my children will rejoin the business. But
Ron
they have
and Sons,
to,
Weidenbach and Sons, yeah, and family.
they have to choose to come back of their own will.
Yeah, yeah.
And right
very
now,
good.
you know, they're in their 20s, and there's a whole world out there to explore.
Exactly.
So they need to do that first, and then evaluate where we are at that point.
Well, thank you for being on the show today with us. I'm sure the viewers have learned something here that's good, and it's good all the way around. So thank you, Ron, for being on the show, and we'll talk with you again real soon. But that's this edition of Gil Gets It Done. As previously mentioned, my name is Gil Riviere. I'm the representative for this district on the North Shore of Oahu, and I can never brag about it enough because there's just always something more interesting to talk about. Thank you. We'll see you next time. Aloha.